Why did this middle-aged meat eater end up vegan? And then onto a BBC vegan documentary. In this episode of the Vegan Strong podcast, I interviewed Dan Sheppard, an actor, trucker, and vegan activism powerhouse on what it means to have longevity in activism. This is a powerful episode, so I hope you're ready for a ride. Let's jump in. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Vegan Strong podcast. I'm here with Dan Sheppard, infamous vegan trucker. I found Dan on TikTok, how I found a lot of you guys, and just thought his content was really powerful. Love the activism, love the narrative. And so I just, shot him an invite, and here we are. So without further ado, Dan, if you tell us a little bit about you, introduce yourself here.
Yeah, sure, Zach. Just like to say thank you for inviting me on. It's always nice to talk to somebody with the same mindset. Of course, like on TikTok, we're dealing with a lot of trolls, but we'll go into that later. But sure. It's nice to talk to like-minded people. That's the key thing.
Right.
But my name's Dan. I'm an actor as well as a trucker. I'm a trucker because I'm an actor, because I can do it part-time and still earn some decent money. Cool. I was on the first ever vegan activism TV show on the BBC One. Cool. 3 years ago. I was one of the activists in the documentary, 3 one-hour shows that went out on BBC. So that put that right into the living rooms of people in the UK. I'm a vegan activist. I do undercover work. I do activism on the streets. I go to vigils. I'm very, very active, very, very vocal, and I don't mince my words. I'll tell it as it is. I'm honest.
Powerful stuff. It's tough to do. I think it takes a lot of courage. I mean, how long have you been vegan, first and foremost? How long have you considered yourself vegan?
Okay, so I mean, I've been vegan 5 years.
Okay. Yep.
I know that for definite, because the thing is about social media, when you've been on social media as long as I have, is that you see changes in your lifestyle. They're there. Right. And I didn't know how long I'd been vegan. I wasn't clocking it. I was just enjoying it. I was enjoying the food. I was enjoying the lifestyle. I enjoyed the fact that I was paying back. And then I went on Instagram and I saw the exact date that I went vegan. Before that, I was plant-based, then pescatarian, and I evolved into it.
And
which it will probably lead on to the next question. I think this is, why did you go vegan?
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm sorry to precede it, but yeah. So it wasn't veganism that prompted me to go down this road.
Right.
Now, what it is, I'm a 54-year-old guy, and my son is 21 in December this year. Okay. Now, when he was born 21 years ago, everything was fine. I was a meat eater. I went through life, and when he got to about 14 and 15 years old, I think he's about 13 actually, I thought, hold on a minute, and I started doing a little bit of math, and I realized that when he's in his mid-20s, when he needs to be doing his own thing, I'll be nearly 60 years old, and I did not want to be a burden on him. I did not want it to be one of those parents that he's got to worry about, that he's got to come and help. He's got to help me. I wanted to be independent. I wanted him to be independent, and I didn't want him to worry about me. I didn't want to put a burden on him. Right. So I started looking at how to be a bit more healthy, which led me on to watching a film about 60 Stone and Nearly Dead, about this guy in the US who juiced vegetables and fruits and lost an absolute shitload of weight.
Oh my gosh.
So I started juicing fruits and vegetables, and then 6 months down the line, I'm thinking, wow, this is making me feel really good. My skin was getting better. Right. My nails were growing, my hair, I know I haven't got a lot, but I was shaving it twice as often, which meant it was growing twice as quick. So I thought, and I started studying plants then. Well, what does this do? Cucumber it's good for rehydration. Cucumber's also good for freshening your breath. Stick a slice of cucumber on the roof of your mouth, freshens your breath.
Some people could benefit from that.
Oh man, I learned so much, even about herbs and spices, and chili peppers increase your metabolism slightly for a while.
Interesting.
I'm putting that in. Ginger is good for headaches, and wow, it was just. And then when I was working for BT, one of my many jobs, because I can't keep a job down because I've got such a big gob.
There you go. That happens, man.
I met this young lady who I was working with, and she said, well, you sound like you're nearly sort of vegan. And I'm like, well, what's vegan? And she went, well, it's when you don't eat any animal products and all this. And my husband did it for a while. And she brought me a book in by this guy called John Joseph. You may have heard of him. He's a US punk star from the 80s. And he wrote a book called Meat is for Pussies.
Oh, I've heard of the book, yeah.
Right. So I read that book, and it wasn't your hippy dippy tree hugging, all for the animals. It was all about health and about the system and about the pharmaceutical companies raking in all this money and relying on the population to be ill. And that resonated with me. And I thought, and this guy in his like 50s was doing Ironman triathlons and beating people half his age. And I thought, so then I started thinking about quitting meat, which I did. One Friday, I did it. I thought I'd just try it for the weekend.
Right.
Did it for the weekend, never went back. I was still eating fish for the protein myth.
Yeah.
Then someone told me about the mercury in fish, and it was all a health journey.
Heavy metals,
right? It was all a health journey. And then eventually I thought, right, I'm cutting fish out. And then at that point, I was totally plant-based. I thought I was vegan.
Right.
But I was totally plant-based.
Right.
Which is important.
Good.
So,
good distinction for sure.
It is a good distinction, but it's a very tentative one for me, because I still think that we should really sort of nurture people who are in their head vegan, but they're plant-based. I don't think we should attack them. Like
interesting. And we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah. So I've got very strong views on that, you know. So then, of course, if I'm considering myself vegan and I'm typing vegan cottage pie, vegan sausage roll,
right,
I'm getting vegan propaganda coming up then. So I'm getting earthlings, I'm getting dominion, I'm getting forks over knives, you know, this is popping up in front of me, and then I get it. Then I get the animals. Then I understand what it's all about. And that was the eureka moment in my life when that happened, and that was 5 years ago in last September.
Yeah.
So from that point onwards, I started looking. And then, of course, you've got your stages of veganism. So I became the angry vegan, and I couldn't understand why nobody else saw what I saw.
Right.
It was like this. It was like, whoa, the Matrix. It's like,
revealed itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much my story.
And moving into vegan activism, because now, I mean, you're doing the I don't even know what to call them, the raids, right? The undercover stuff. Like, how did that journey start to progress from like your eyes being opened? You know, you've been red pilled, you start seeing, you recognize animal suffering. How did you then move into being an activist? Like, what kind of steps did you take?
Right. So this is good for everybody. So anybody watches this is a brilliant step, right? Is get on your social media and start putting things out there, right? And you will get questioned by friends, by family. You will get questioned, and you will get asked questions you cannot answer. So then you will have to go away and research it and then come back with the answer.
Yes.
You do that over and over and over, and eventually you get it fine-tuned down to a simple answer that when they say, what about protein? Or you go, bang, well, this is the fact. All plants have protein. You fine-tune. So that is the first way in to have an answer, to a refined answer. Because the last thing you want is when you talk to people is go, well, what about this? And you go, I don't know. You just look like a fool.
Right.
You know, but I don't mean that for people not to try it. Please talk to people. But what I say is get on a forum where you can go away, research the answer, then come back and do that for 6 or 7 months and you'll find that the same questions come constantly over and over and over and over.
Right. You master the responses.
You master. I can confidently say that I can answer any. Can you swear on here?
Sure. I don't care.
I can answer any fucking question that you care to ask me. I've got the answer for it. Any fucking question.
Sure.
And that isn't me being an egotistical idiot. It's the fact.
Right.
I've been asked everything.
Right.
And I've got the answer for everything.
Right. You've put the reps in. Yeah. I love that. I think, you know, the concept of like the Stoic, you know, the obstacle is the way, right? This is something that transcends just this conversation. But like, if you want to master anything, right, the challenge is where you get better. And I think one of the challenging things for veganism, right, where we're so connected to the suffering, right? It's an emotional connection beyond just a statistical understanding that this is better for the environment, it's better for your health, obviously. It's just obviously better for the animals because they're not being killed. Right. I think when you commit yourself to get better, right, to be willing to struggle in these kinds of conversations, right, inevitably the outcome is that you're going to become a better orator, right, a better debater, right. And so I love that, right, because the internet gives you that opportunity, and especially when you're out here making content and you're going to get these, these knuckleheads just constantly commenting all this bullshit on your content. And so I really like that willingness to grow and recognizing that actually the challenge is how you grow, right? It's not something that you have to fear as something that's going to come into your space and totally throw you off balance. It's inevitable, right? That's going to happen. If you can expect that, you're not going to falter when you experience it. And in fact, you're actually going to get better by experiencing it.
Though, it's crazy what you actually learn, right?
Right.
And a lot of it's common sense, right? A lot of it's common sense, but
sure.
One thing I learned that was crazy, right? And it's still not proved whether it's true or not, right? Is someone said to me once, right? Man started walking upright from the apes because he could throw a spear, right? So he could throw a spear and use tools, right? And I looked at all sorts of theories on this, and the theory I come up with, right, the reason we started walking upright was the simple reason is when you see a monkey walking on two legs, it's carrying a lot of food. I shouldn't say it. We shouldn't call animals it. They are carrying a lot. They are carrying a lot of food, and that is the most efficient way to carry a lot of food. Now, what happened in prehistory was these big dense jungles opened up to savannas. So as ape-like people, we would have to pick fruits and berries and then run across an open plain. It was more efficient to be able to carry a shitload of food across this open plain on two legs.
Right.
And that's how I believe that we started walking. But that's not the point. That might be total bullshit. But the point is, it's amazing when people put questions to you, what you learn. And what and it sticks there. Like they talk about meat.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Meat made our brains bigger.
Boom.
Okay.
Literally what I was going to ask you right next.
So the first answer I give to that is, so why isn't my pet cat fixing like the engine control system on my car?
Right.
What? Because if meat made your brain bigger, every single carnivore would be walking around doing nuclear physics now.
Exactly.
Right. But the reason our brains grew bigger when we discovered fire was it gave us access to starchy vegetables. Okay. We couldn't eat them before, like potatoes. Try and eat a raw potato.
Yeah. Good luck.
So we cooked it. Now, what starches do to your body when they go in your body is they convert to glucose. That is, and our brains use 60% of the body's glucose to just to function right now.
Right.
So we're putting in brain food and combine that with hunting, with group hunting, where we've got to work together and communicate and plan. That is why brains grew bigger, because of starches and hunting. But it wasn't the meat, the physical meat, it was the physical vegetables that gave us the fuel.
So when you think about like all these arguments, one of the good questions that comes to my mind is like, and this is a total tangent, so don't stress too much about this, but is there a most ridiculous thing that you see on a regular basis that you're like, obviously a lot of these arguments completely defy logic and they're emotional defense mechanisms, right? Is there anything that you see that just totally blows your mind of absolute, pure and utter ridiculousness?
Well, I've seen a lot of things and I can't recall them off the top of my head. I've seen a lot of absolutely ridiculous arguments. But it's got to be, and you'll know what I'm going to say, is that plants feel pain. Right. That has got to be the biggest, stupidest, last resort, back against the fence, idiotic response you can possibly give. Anybody, not just vegans, anybody. I mean, put that in any other context. And people, can you imagine somebody protesting about our use of, we walk on grass, for God's sake. You know, it's like
right.
we walk on grass. It's just crazy. You know, I've never heard my grass scream when I'm cutting it. I've never heard it. You know, it's never tried to escape. It's But there's other examples. There's all sorts about hunter comments, and I mean, a lot of it's just. I mean, what we've got to consider is that we were just like those people before.
Right.
Some of you might be surprised that I thought that cows produce milk because they ate grass. And surprisingly, a lot of people do think that. And it's not them to blame. It's the marketing, and it's the way we're put into that situation of being made to believe that this is a natural system, that it's always been there, and it's how we've always lived our lives. I mean, drinking milk, using cow's milk for food has only been around a short period of time compared with how long we've been on this planet. In fact, it's only been on this earth such a short time that nearly 75% of the population of this planet cannot digest milk. So it's not even established as yet. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I guess part of the reason I ask is because there is the dissonance is an obvious defense mechanism, right? And one of the things that I think about is like what allowed me to ultimately shift from a position where I was trying to protect my own ego, right? Like trying to protect the standards that I used throughout my life that it's convenient for me not to question, to then being so vehemently on the other side, right? And that's like I think a strategic objective that I want to personally accomplish, because I do think that the majority of people have a perfectly fine capacity to recognize that the suffering of animals is very much real, right? Like why is it so casually okay for you to mow your lawn once a week during the summer, right? Why is it so casually okay for us to purchase houseplants as a gift only for it to die in someone's house, and no one actually gives a fuck about that, right? Versus you keep a perfectly edible animal in your home as a pet, right? You keep perfectly edible animals in a tank for aesthetic, and even you love that animal, do you not? Fish can be loved. And so I'm always looking for what can actually like trigger a person to finally acknowledge the dissonance that they're holding on to. And I think that that's a difficult question, because, well, I mean, there's a million and one reasons for that.
Right. Okay. Well, my take is on this. Okay. Are your parents still around?
They are. Yeah, they're alive.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say your parents walk in that room now and come in through that door behind you, and they say, Zach, sorry, but you were adopted. You're not really ours. How shocked would you be at that statement?
Totally shocked. Yeah.
Totally shocked. Okay. So then I'm turning around and I'm saying, Zach, your mother, your father, your grandpa, your granddad, your government, your doctor, the surgeons, your school, everybody lied to you all your life about meat, eggs, and dairy.
Right.
That's what you're telling people.
Right.
That the whole life has been a sham, just like as though you've been adopted. Your whole life has been a sham. And that's what you're asking people. That's the pill you're asking people to swallow. He's like, what does this guy on the street know more than my doctor? Well, it just so happens that doctors in the UK get the equivalent of 8 hours nutritional training.
Yep. Right? Very similar here. Yeah.
I've studied more than 8 hours of nutritional training. Right. I've studied more about nutrition than doctors have. So I'm actually a better advocate for nutrition than a qualified GP. Yeah. And I didn't get any qualifications from school. It's like, it's a hard pill for people to swallow.
Right. And go ahead.
No, it's fine, mate. You carry on.
That's a good lead up then to what you talked about earlier of being compassionate towards people that are making the change. Do you see it as a detriment to the cause when, there are people out here kind of like, quite literally identity shitting on people, right? When that are non-vegan, right? Attacking them personally, calling them names, this kinds of thing. when you think about the process that is required for a person to have this real subconscious realization, right? Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, what is the damage that's possible if you resort to, I guess, essentially like verbal violence rather than compassion?
Yeah, I mean, you see, the trouble is, I'm sort of on both sides of the fence. I sort of sit there on the fence and I rock from side to side, because I can understand one side, and I can understand the other. And I mean, firstly, and I've talked about this on my TikToks, is veganism is about animal rights violations, right? It's not about abuse, right? It's not about treating the animals badly. It's nothing to do with treating the animals. It's to do with animal rights violations, right? The fact is, we shouldn't be taking animals out of nature and confining them and using them like we're using them, right? They should be free to do their own thing. That is veganism in a nutshell. The rest of the abuse comes with confining animals in small sheds, in rearing them as quickly as possible for food, in using them in experiments. The abuse comes because we've taken away we should extend these rights of life and autonomy to animals.
Wow. Yeah.
That's it. That's what veganism is.
Right.
The abuse, we're not trying to stop the abuse, right? If we're trying to stop the abuse, we are welfareists then, right? If we try and stop the abuse of dogs being skinned alive in Southeast Asia, they'll say, okay, then we'll stab them in the throat and then we'll skin them. They've solved the problem that we're trying to get rid of.
Right.
What can we say then?
Right.
We can't ask them to do that. We say, stop using dogs.
Right.
Full stop. End of. Stop it. It's wrong. Leave the dogs alone,
Right.
So that side of things I get, yeah. And then you've got the other side of it, is that people will not see that at first. Certain people will not see that. You've got people my age who have spent all their life and they can't be fucking arsed changing the lifestyle around now. But they find something wrong with them. Like my mother, who was totally anti-vegan for the 5 years that I was vegan for. I am. She's suddenly getting problems with the hips and the legs, and I've told her to quit dairy. She's quit dairy, right? Because it may help. The next stage is get her off meat, maybe, and but it's a way in, whereas she would not have even considered. So she's suddenly now stopped funding the dairy industry, which is the most abusive one of all three, apart from fishing.
Right.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. And then you've got people who say that, and then I'll go on Facebook and I'll see, why did everybody go vegan? And then I'll see, oh, I went vegan for health. Oh, I went vegan because of the environment. And then that thing, oh, shit. So it's like we're walking a tightrope. So I've narrowed it down to this, okay? We've got roads, we've got the environmental road, we've got the health road, and we've got the animals road, right? Get somebody on one of those roads, right? Just get them on that road.
Right.
Walking down that road, right? And that's it. Once they've got on that road, then we can start steering them towards the animal rights. We push them towards that and say, right, now you're on this road, you're open. You're obviously open because you care about the environment. You're open because you care about your health. Right. Have a look at this because you're now open. And then eventually all roads will lead to that veganism. And that's my belief. It is, yes, we should get people to go vegan overnight, straight away, as soon as you see the abuse, stop what you're doing. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. So we've got to sort of, but what people are not doing is emphasizing the animals. If someone goes on for health reasons, they will go on that health, instead of saying, yes, I know it can be healthier, but what you need to do is look at the position of the animals, watch Dominion, watch this. And so that's our responsibility when we talk to anybody, is as soon as possible, bring that conversation down to the animals, and then your work is, your conscience is clear. Let's put it that way. Right. Whether they do or don't follow through.
Right. That's another question. I really like that. I mean, I think this is something that I notice, especially in I don't want to say the younger generation, but younger as in the time frame in which somebody has been committed to a cause, right? Is that at first you tend to be a lot more radical, but then there is more of an allowance for incrementalism. And my personal perspective is that real change comes with slow adjustments, right? And I like that when a person first goes vegan for whatever the reason is, plant-based, right? They use less animal products. Like you mentioned, as you started searching up vegan recipe, this and that, the propaganda comes to you, right? The information comes to you, right? And with a system that humanity is an anthropocentric system, right? We are at the top of the hierarchy. We are beyond the food chain, right? Whatever it takes to get people to start to dismantle those concepts, right? Pets, even, the fact that I am what's the word that I want? Deserving of an animal companion, right? That automatically, because I'm a human, I can go out and purchase an animal, and thereby it's my right to do that, right? But it's very easy for us to let go of the fact that that is an autonomous being that I am, over thousands of years, I have removed from its original position. And so I think even if a person is only doing it for the health reasons, right? They start to become aware of that information. Like you talked about earlier, the nurse is lying to you, right? The school is lying to you, right? The textbooks, the doctors, all of these things, you start to slowly pick apart at that information and slowly start to unravel this narrative of, human supremacy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we get into these emotional tirades of like, this has to change now, right? And it's very easy to get passionate about that, right? Obviously, billions of animals being slaughtered every year, and you've seen it firsthand. We don't understand just how scary that can be of a shift, right? To recognize just how false, everything around us is. And so I like that you're open and willing to acknowledge that any change is reflective of a greater shift that's happening all around us, where people are recognizing that just this mindless exploitation is morally indefensible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you asked me about the more, I'm not going to say the word extreme, more potent activism that I got into, that
Sure.
I'm into now,
right.
earlier. And this is what I mean about once your eyes are open, everybody goes through the stages of veganism. So first you become the angry vegan because you cannot understand why people, and then you learn more and more and more, and then you get to understand. So then you start speaking out more. I mean, after the Facebook episode, I started talking to people. So when I went to the gym, I'd see every week this guy is about, oh, you're gonna have to do a conversion now, is like a 20 stone guy. I think that's about £300 or something like that. I'm not sure. But you've got this guy, he's sweating away on the treadmill, right? And then he'll go home and he'll eat some chicken breast because it's lean. He'll and I've spoke to people, I've said, look, mate, I've got something that may help you. And it's an all-you-can-eat diet, and you will guarantee to get down to a normal BMI, and you can eat as much as you want. Right. And he's like, whoa, yeah? And I said, yeah, vegan diet. I'm wrong in saying that, but a vegan diet, a whole food, plant-based diet.
Right.
And they'll either shut down or they'll open up and say, want to know more, So that's when I first started talking to people. And then I thought, oh, that was it. I applied, because I'm an actor, I get access to stuff that's coming onto TV and shout outs for people to do certain things. And I saw this shout out for somebody to appear in a vegan documentary. Didn't know what it was about. Outspoken vegan. I thought, well, that's me, because at that point I'd started speaking to people face to face. And like I said, I got on this BBC TV show, but we had to share a house with 4 other vegans, one of which was Joey Carbstrong. So I was with the god of vegan outreach, right, and
the man himself. Yeah,
I learned a lot. I went to my first vigil on that show. I did my first vegan outreach AV on that TV show. Went to talk to a dairy farmer on my own. Wow. So a lot went on, And after that, I started my YouTube channel, Grumpy Vegan Granddad. And the reason behind Grumpy Vegan Granddad is my granddaughter's, like, at the time when I started, it was about 3 years old. And every time she came and sat at the house, just sat over there, my wife would give, because none of my family are vegan, by the way. I just like to express that. None of them, all 4 people who live here, apart from me. And I'd say, look, that's Peppa Pig you're eating there when she was eating bacon. Now, Peppa Pig is a cartoon character on TV.
Yep.
And she's like, Granddad, shut up, Granddad. And she said, Grandma, why is Granddad so grumpy? Is it because he's vegan? And I just thought, oh, Grumpy Vegan Granddad.
Genius.
Yes, I'm having that. Go. So bang. So I started the YouTube channel, Grumpy Vegan Granddad. And that sort of starts opening up doors and starts you thinking more, because then you've got to start creating content. Yeah. And I mean, that's up until now. And then you asked about the farm sort of exposes. Well, yeah, that's come with wanting to do more. I wanted to, what people have the stupid comments. Right. Okay, you mentioned stupid comments. Right. I get my meat, dairy, and eggs from a small farm because they love their animals and they look after them. Right. Right. I started sneaking onto farms to expose that myth, because it's a myth. Because smaller farms are hidden away. They get away with murder, literally. Right. Yeah. They don't have as much money as the big factory farms, so they cut corners. Yep. You know. Yep. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. That's where I'm going at the moment, is exposing these small farms. They're not idyllic little sort of enclaves of beauty and green grass and happy cows, and it's mini Auschwitz. That's what it is, mini Auschwitz. Wow,
that's deep. That's a conversation for another day. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was a dairy farmer for about 4 months. I worked on a small dairy farm up in the middle of Maine, a state in the U.S. And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And it is interesting because if we can recognize, if we could acknowledge, which I don't, that there could be some kind of humane treatment within a system where the animal is doomed to die, the small farms might even be the worst perpetrators, right? For that reason, right? They're lower on funds, they're lower on manpower, right? And because of these low resource situations, we live in a capitalist situation, both you and I do. These people are looking for ways to increase their profits and cut costs, right? Cut corners.
Of course.
And so, yeah, I love that you bring that up, because there is potentially an argument there for small farms being even worse, right? Getting your meat and dairy from a farmer that firsthand, that meat could be coming from an animal that suffered even more than an animal being on, a large scale CAFO. So that's an excellent point. I like that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it feeds into my ADHD as well. I mean, we talked about that before. And the thing is about that condition is that I'm looking for stimulation all the time. And what I say to vegans out there is use your talents, what you've got, If you're a good cook superb vegan food for people to sample, if you're good at talking and holding conversations, have conversations with people. Like for me, I'm a good actor. And I've got this condition where I seek, I won't say pleasure, I seek excitement because of low dopamine levels. Right. So doing this sort of thing feeds into that adrenaline dopamine stuff, because a lot of ADHD people like to do dangerous sports. So I'm using what I've got to the best of my ability, and that's what everybody's got to do is look at what can I do. If you're shy, it doesn't matter. If people are shy, just buy stickers and stick them on lampposts, and there you go, stick them on people's backs. Yes, I've written "Go Vegan" on the side of my truck in like 3 foot high letters, and that truck is going all around Manchester in the northwest with "Go Vegan" on the side. There's lots we can do, and we've got to sort of use what we've got and how we are in our personality to do that. Right. I've noticed that you're great at on your lives on TikTok. You're very coherent. You know, I'm a bit sort of bitty sometimes, but you're great, and you're using your talents for something that you really enjoy. You know, you enjoy doing the live streams. You can see the comments. You're so good at it. You know, so. Yeah, that's what everybody needs to do. Find out what you're good at and use that in a way to transmit this message to as many people as possible.
Perfect.
And it will work. It will work.
Yeah, I love that response. I mean, I think that's kind of the answer that nobody's ever really given me, right? With when I ask about your activism and the things that you're doing, no one's ever responded with, I'm doing my best, right? I'm doing what I am good at. Right. I'm leaning into what I want to do, what I feel like I want to improve in, and what I just feel like works the best for me. Right. And there isn't a wrong way to do that. I like that you brought up art, right? You know, creating stickers, right? Creating forums, just commenting. There are people that spend a lot of time on these social medias. And I always want to acknowledge them because I think that can be super toxic, right? For your mental health. And you do have to be careful. But it shouldn't be trivialized, right? Just commenting, making posts, these kinds of things, it works, right? It's getting in front of people. And just because a person, even if a person is commenting back, LOL, bacon, or something just ridiculous like this, there has been a seed planted in their mind, right? They have encountered a vegan in the wild, a real person who in many ways breaks their standard of what conceptually a vegan is supposed to be, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you've opened up a whole can of worms there, because you've sort of read my mind slightly on that one. It is because what I was going to say was the people who troll you the most, right?
Yeah.
It's the same people. Now, these people are watching this content.
Yeah.
And I've always said, right, I grew up in a rough time. The area in Manchester that I live, right, is rough. You look at someone for more than 3 seconds, you'll get punched in the face, right? It's a hard drinking, hard gambling, hard fighting community that we live in.
Right.
And I've almost forgot where I was going with this, but yeah. And what a rule was, okay, never be scared of the one with the big mouth, right? It's the quiet ones you should be wary of, right?
Right.
So the same goes for activism, right? The people who you're not going to get through to are the ones who are quiet, who never watch your stuff.
Right.
It's the ones with the biggest mouth,
right,
who are there and are engaging with you. Stick with it. Don't block them unless they're doing something. The only people I block on any of my social medias are the ones, like one guy was trying to promote the keto diet. Yeah, it's a dangerous diet, you know. He was trying to constantly promote that, and I thought, I don't want people going and trying this, so I blocked him. But anybody who gives me shit, man, bring it on, you know.
Yeah,
I'm a 54-year-old Northern English guy,
right,
you know. I've been punched in the nose more times than you probably had hot dinners, you know.
Right.
A few words ain't gonna hurt me, mate. It doesn't bother me. And this is what sort of manifests the attitude on TikTok as well. It's why I'm probably going to get banned more and maybe permanently, because I don't care, you know. I don't care about upsetting people. I don't care about offending people. I won't offend people for race, or I won't offend people for their sexuality or anything like that, or religion. I'll only offend people by saying, while you're eating animals, you are paying for murder, you're paying for rape, you're paying for animal abuse, you're paying for slavery, you're paying for all these horrible things. That's the only time. And I'm not bothered if people are offended by that. I don't care, you know. So yeah, it's a toughie. It's a toughie. But yeah, the ones with the biggest gobs, pay more attention to them, because they are listening. And it only takes so much for that seed to fruition then.
Right. You know? Right.
And another thing is, you're going to the gym. I'm going to go back to the gym. But that's another cool thing, because the problem with the vegan movement at the moment is that the ratio of men to women is massive. The gap is enormous.
It is.
Right? And I mean, it's a great time to be a young single vegan man, because you've got loads of talent out there.
I'm always telling them.
You know, it's like, these girls want vegan men. They don't want floppy meat eaters who've got erectile dysfunction. You know what I mean? It's But yeah, so I'm 54. You know, I'm trying to get the best I can. Look at those. I'm getting there. You know,
got some guns.
But this is the thing, you know, I'm running around like a 25-year-old kid. I'm building muscle. I'm doing it on purpose. I could relax and sit back and sit in the chair and eat vegan chocolate all day and have a beer belly like 3.5 billion people who are my age all around me. But I won't do. I want to show people that it's the whole thing is good. I want to draw people in. And that's it. I'll tell lies to people. I'll say, I went vegan and I can jump 15 foot in the air now and do a somersault. I can't. But once I get them there, then I can hit them with the animal rights and tell them to watch this. And it's all about drawing people in. And
there you go.
Yeah.
I like that. There you go.
I mean, you've got Vegan Booty in Australia who strips down, her and her friends strip down to like,
I've seen that.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right. The woman that looks like Marilyn Monroe. That's
And people are like, what? And they're looking and then they see the message and it's like,
what the hell is this?
Sex sells, So they're using every method possible. You know, it's not something I'm going to do. I'm not going to be walking around in my underpants, sort of, with a sign saying "Go vegan."
Well, that would work too, brother. I'm sure it would. But no, But I like that, and I always, when you're on these communities that are entirely vegans, lamenting about the random bullshit that they have to deal with, right? One of the common ones is that young women, especially on these dating apps, will have vegan or something in their biography, right? When somebody messages them, and that's such a common thing that they'll be like, oh, I'm trying to go vegan, or I wanted to go vegan. Just some guys like trying to kind of BS their way into a date or something. But I'm like, that's prime activism right there, right? A lot of people will criticize me for these kind of quote unquote thirst traps that I'll, with the muscles and that kind of thing. And I'm like, it's calculated, right? I don't like being public, right? I do enjoy the live stream sometimes. I like the conversation, but I don't like posting the pictures. I really don't like creating content, right? The stuff that you see me putting out is me just trying, right? I'm doing what I can to try to get the engagement that's going to get people into that loop. Because like we've said, it's the people that hate the most. I see them consistently, video after video after video. And I'm like, you fool, how could you fall for this easily, right? You're drinking my content in, and whether you want it or not, your subconscious mind is listening to this information. I used to be a person that hated on these various things that I'm now a part of, right? The laughing at the malnourished vegans, thinking, no wonder I'm so much stronger than these people, right? Things change because I got myself in an ecosystem, right? And so I think that, I just like that all these points are being thrown back and forth, because I think that a lot of the time there is this deeper energetic truth that's happening that, it's frustrating and we can't always see it through our frustration, but it is happening. And this is why,
I mean, the one thing you said there is your ears, right? You can shut your eyes,
right?
You can shut your mouth,
right.
You can pinch your nose, yeah,
right, yeah.
But you cannot stop anything going in your ears, okay?
Right.
And when any words go in your ears, your brain automatically creates a picture in your imagination, So if anybody's listening to this now, a sunny beach, a big vegan ice cream dripping down your hand,
boom,
that's already pictured in your head. You can't help it. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
So these people who are listening, even if they're not watching and they're not seeing your content, they're not seeing your posing, they're not seeing this, if they're listening to somebody describing and speaking,
right,
it's reacting and it's chipping away.
Exactly.
That vegan teacher, not my cup of tea. However, she said it only takes so many clicks for someone to go vegan. And what she means is it only takes so many pieces of information snapping into your brain, and eventually that's it. You cave in, the dissonance disappears, and you're vegan. That's
Can't
it.
Unsee it.
And I think that's true. I think that's very, very true. It took me, I'd say about 9 months before I kicked the fish, before I finally sort of went fully plant-based, and obviously I'll say vegan. Let's say vegan, for God's sake. Yeah. I cut out all animal products, and I said, right, I'm vegan from this point on. So
there you go. Yeah.
But it took 8 months. If I'd have been exposed to maybe you at the very beginning of my journey, I probably would have gone vegan a lot earlier, because I'll tell you something about my personality as well. 9/11 happened a while ago. We had a lot of bombings in the UK. One guy I was friends with, him and his missus, and another friend of mine, they both lost their wives in the Manchester bombing. Wow. Yeah, they both lost. Yeah, I had the guy ringing me up saying, you know, can you ring some hospitals for me, find out where my missus is. She was beautiful. So 2 people from my local area lost their wives in that bombing. And then you get the Islamophobia backlash, right?
Right.
Now, even after that, even after my friends, I defended people because it's not Islam that's at fault with this. It's not the people who initiated this. This is a terrorist. This is some twisted individual.
Right.
It's not, you know, and I've always fought for the underdog. Always. When I was young, we had the AIDS scare. And the homophobia was unbelievable.
I bet.
But I, as a person, could not stand by that homophobia. I could not hate somebody because of the sexuality. And I fought against that as well. So defending the animals is a natural progression for me. It was a no-brainer, but I wasn't exposed to the reality until 5 years ago in September, you know? So I wish that people had sort of spoke to me earlier, but unless you're going down those roads, again, we're back to these roads again, unless you're going down one of those roads, you're never going to meet a vegan. You're never going to speak to a vegan.
Right.
You know? And this is why I value veganuary so much.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, well, veganuary it increases the people who've gone plant-based very, very quickly. Yeah. And people are then looking for vegan products. And then those vegan products, they'll realize, wow, there's absolutely shitloads of vegan products in this supermarket, but I've never cared to look for them before. So one of the biggest drawbacks I hear from people is it's not convenient, especially people my age. They don't, like I said before, you don't want to change your life around after 40 years, 50 years of just doing the same shit, different day.
Right.
You can't be asked.
Right.
And then when you tell them, whoa, you can go to McDonald's, you can go to KFC, you can go to Greg's, you can go to Burger King, you know, you can go to the Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda. They've all got vegan options. They've got all this. They've got fast foods. They've got slow foods. They've got beautiful foods. They've got some shit out there as well. But they've got, it's more convenient now than it was 5 years ago. You've got 25, 30 different milks in every supermarket in the UK now. You've got all price. It's not even expensive. I can get a carton of soya milk now for 30 pence. You know, it's not even expensive. So yeah, veganuary is good in a way, but people are trying to rubbish it by saying it doesn't hit the animal rights. But I've looked at the website, and it does. It does tackle the animal rights. It does say that's what we're about. It does say that this is about animal rights and about veganism at its heart. So it does, but what they're saying is people try it for a month and then go back. And would you apply that to like slavery, or you know? But that's outlawed. All that is outlawed. It's like this is still a legal system in the UK. You know? Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it comes back to that idea of instantaneous need for a reward, right? In this society where we are hyper rewarded, right, by screens, pornography, drugs, right? All of us have these various things that we're these vices that we are dealing with, and I think information and time is a very similar one, right? Like Western democracy required thousands of years to even reach the incredibly flawed level that it's at right now. But it's undeniable that the political system that we exist in currently is oodles better than what was around in, you know, Christ's time, right? And I think when we look at things from a longer perspective, we have this perspective like, you know, I'm a human, right? My life is going to be 100 years if it's a good one, right? That's a very short period of time, right? And so when somebody does veganuary for a month, goes back, we have this, a lot of people have this perception like, oh, it's been lost, right? The battle with that person was lost, right? When that's not the case at all, right? Maybe they went from having this support, these meal plans, this desire that inevitably fizzles out. Motivation is a roller coaster, right? I'm always talking to the people in my fitness programs about this. Motivation does not stick around, right? If you're constantly looking for the next video on how do I stay motivated, you're fucking yourself over, because the truth is that it's discipline, it's time, it's repetitions, right? Somebody that goes vegan for Veganuary goes vegan, well, plant-based was more accurate, but they'll probably try it again, right? They now have gotten into these Facebook, Google algorithms. They're going to be spitting them vegan information forever, right? They've now come in contact with yourself, you know, a Joey Carbstrong, an Earthling Ed, right? Somebody like that is now in their social media feed, and it might just be one post every other day. But guess what? They're stuck, right? They're there. They're not getting away from it unless they just have a radical ethical change of no, you know, animals need to be killed or whatever. But that's just not very likely, right? And that's why statistically the number of vegans is blowing up exponentially more and more every year, because we might not have the long vision, but that doesn't mean that the long vision is not an inherent truth of information and just the way things are.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, Veganuary, it's very interesting because, like you said, they've tried it. It's there. They're exposed to it. Right. They might have walked away from it. We can't expect everybody just to do it overnight. It doesn't work like that with everybody. It's not reality. And these people who spout this nonsense, like, oh, you should go vegan overnight once you know the truth, you know. And again, when they try and put it into a human context. I mean, I like using certain of those. I mean, I have used them. Say, a guy at work said to me yesterday, "Oh, I'm gonna have vegan meals 2 days a week now." I said, "So you're going to murder for 5 then, are you?" And he just started laughing at me, you know. And but you can't put it in that human context because it's not a normality. Murder of humans isn't a normality. It's not a legalized thing. It's not an everyday thing. Right. And you can't really compare it to that. Only in certain conditions. When people are primed and ready, you can maybe say to them, look, if you just like having a meatless Monday, it's like saying, like, I'm having a not what beating my wife Monday. You're just not beating your wife on the Monday. How, you know?
Exactly.
And that might resonate with them when they're ready, but not straight away, because that is sort of like, you've got to use every tactic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Different people are at different phases. And I think it's just unrealistic not to acknowledge that. And so that's, for me, that's one of those changes that has come with time, is the reality of psychology, and just knowing that humans are individuals, right? And like you said, we still exist in a society where consumption of animals is completely normalized, right? It's marketed. It's, fed to kids in schools like, oh, milk is the greatest thing for your health, the greatest thing for your athletic performance. And so I think for me, it's a perspective of both mental health, but also longevity as an activist, right? Because if you have these unrealistic standards, you don't have those standards because of how committed you are to the animals or anything. You have those standards because you're a flawed human that's afraid, right? You're afraid to exist in a world where another animal is going to be murdered, right? Even one. And you want things to change right now, but that's an emotional thing, right? And when you look at things logically and realize that your life is temporal, right? Most of us will die before we see a vegan planet, right? And come to terms with that, accept that, and do your best right now, right? And that's going to allow you to live a life where you can be fulfilled outside of veganism, right? But that fulfillment, that balance, is going to give you the longevity to be an activist for the rest of your life.
You see, yeah, and I get that. And I did a little bit of an experiment on Facebook. I think it was about a year and a half ago. And I said, if anybody has been influenced to go vegan and is still vegan now, and you were influenced by me or something I said or something I posted, please reply now. And over 40 people replied on that post.
Holy
Christ. And I'm thinking, wow, and I've had messages from people who the last person you'd think in the world would go vegan, fishermen, and they've messaged me and said, right, Dan, I don't know what to eat, but I'm doing it. I've seen your stuff now, and But then on the flip side of the coin, I rung somebody up after my dad died in September, and I rung somebody up to tell him, because he used to work with him. I said, "Hi, Terry, how you doing?" I said, "My dad's died." And he, "Oh, sorry to hear that." He said, "Sorry, I don't sort of see you on social media, but I've blocked you because of all your vegan crap."
Yeah.
It's like, I'm never going to get through to that guy. I'm never going to get through to that guy. And this is what I'm saying, the silent ones, the ones you don't even know had unfriended you or blocked you, you've no chance. But so it's an evolving thing. And the thing about veganism is, once someone's vegan, then they are going to talk about it. So even if they reckon we were at the moment now 1.5 million in the UK, right? A rough estimate. 1.5 million.
A lot of people.
So if 1.5 million each turn 2 people vegan in the next 12 months,
right,
that equates to like 4.5 million, doesn't it? It's like it's going up, and it won't stop. And people think, oh, it's just a fad. It's just everyone's doing it because it's trendy. All the stars are turning it because it's trendy. It's like, fucking hell, would you have said that about people who were against slavery back in the day?
Right.
Would you have said, Robert Louis Stevenson's only gone to anti-slavery because it's trendy, It's like, really? Charles Dickens, he's part of that anti-slavery crew. It's only because it's trendy at the moment.
Right.
It's like bullshit, man. Bullshit. It's not a trend, it's not a fad, it's breaking out of a lifetime of brainwashing and shit on that thing behind there, the TV, that is fired to you all the time. And it's like very, very, very clever people, right? And the pioneers and the best people for marketing are McDonald's. They have got a full committed to veganism, to counteracting the veganism. And it shows how well we've done.
It does.
Introduced
that they need that. Yeah,
they've got to do. But they've actually introduced a plant-based. But why? They're making millions anyway. Why they introduce that? Because they know they can't fight us anymore. Right. If you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
And that's what's happening.
And there you go. And long term, having I don't think from what's the word that I want? An anthropological perspective, I don't think that these companies have done their due diligence looking at history, right? When there is an organization that is set up, committed to destroying something, that thing is doing pretty damn well, right? If they're going to be, if these CAFOs, these meat conglomerates, like in the United States, we have like the Council of Dairy Farmers, XYZ. Yeah. These organizations are putting out information trying to, take a dump on veganism. And I look at that stuff and I'm like, awesome, spread the word. Every time the word vegan is anywhere, there's a person that doesn't know what that word means. And they're going to look up, what does that word mean?
I mean, the dairy industry in the UK are doing something called February, right? They did it last year. And all that happened was just like millions of vegans went on and trolled it. Like putting pictures of like severed lamb's heads and like, what the horrible things they do to lamb. I'm not laughing at the acts. I'm laughing at the fact that we smashed them to pieces. It just does. Every vegan uses #February and puts some disgusting footage that they're culpable for, and it's like they're not getting away with it.
They're helping us out.
They tried stopping us using burgers and sausages as a food title. They tried stopping us using milks, It went to the European court and they failed.
Nice.
Because, they failed. Well, obviously they failed. How can you, what part of an animal is a sausage?
I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. There isn't a part of an animal that is a sausage. It's an amalgamation of all the different ingredients in a sausage. Yeah, it's all sorts. It can be pork, it can be beef, it can be chicken, it can be herbs, spices. It's what's a burger? It's
a mash.
It doesn't say what part of the animal the burger is, does it? Because it's called my biggest argument was a hamburger. It's not even made of ham. Right. So how can they call it a hamburger?
Hell? Yeah, right. We should countersue. Yeah, and like that's a perfect example. Them taking this concept to the highest level of the judicial system. Who was thinking about that? Like, whose idea was it to put this conflict at the top of the world stage, right? thank you for that. I mean, honestly, these guys are
Exactly.
helping. These guys are helping us out. If our governments want to,
great.
If our governments want to pump them money, love it, love it. I mean, this is excellent. So, I mean, when it comes to you and your prognosis, kind of, I mean, at first I wanted to ask about like the prognosis of the future of your personal activism and your ambition, but I mean, do you perceive that long term, I personally think that a vegan planet is inevitable. I mean, what's kind of your prognosis on how things are going to change and how the stance of being pro-life, as I perceive it, is going to be, on the world stage?
Well, I'll just tackle one thing that you said earlier, is about the long game. So first of all, I believe in the long game. We had some activists at the local slaughterhouse where I am, and they chained themselves to the barriers so no wagons could get in that day. They actually rung up tulip meats at like 4 a.m. and said, "We're locked onto your gates now. Stop the wagons coming." And then the guys who actually attend the pig save, some of them turned up and were kicking off saying, "Now them pigs are stuck in those trucks and they're overheating and they're in a terrible condition and this and that." And that's okay. It's not ideal, but we've got to look at the long game. These animals are going to look at a war. Look at the war in Syria. We bombed the hell out of civilians, but we've got to do it because the long game means we never did oust the dictatorship, but that's the idea. The long game is to get rid of that dictatorship out of that country.
I get what you're saying.
We can't do that, so
there's an ethical trade-off. Yeah,
there is. And unfortunately, when I go filming in the farms, this woman asked me to go and film in this new one this guy just set up, and I went, "Look, I would, but it's too nice." And she went, "What do you mean?" I said that it's brand new. It's shiny, it's new, it's clean, it's healthy, it looks great. "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's no use doing that because it's not going to have any effect. We need to see the worst of the worst, how badly these animals are really treated. That's the only way we're going to get people to change their attitude on this whole industry, is to see what actually happens in reality, not these brand new spankers. We'll go to him in a few years when he gets bored or loses money, or he gets fed up of doing it and starts abusing the animals. Like every single farmer does eventually, gets fed up with getting up at crack of dawn.
Sure. Right. So, yeah, 14-hour days. Yeah.
But yeah, the future, I envisage this next generation now being the pioneers. So the 12 to 20-year-olds right now, a lot more of them are now vegan than there was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Right.
It's very common.
It's now accessible. So now that one vegan kid in a gang of 5 can now go to McDonald's and sit with his friends or her friends and have a burger, right, as opposed to sitting outside and chomping on a falafel or something like that, right? So things have changed. So I think the generation after that and the generation after that, so we're talking 50 years?
50 years,
50 years, we'll be pretty much there. I really do.
That's exactly my prognosis. And as far as you, I mean, obviously you're creating content, you're coming on, having conversations with me, you're getting on these, prime time television and that kind of thing. Like, what's the future look like for you as far as your activism and what you would like to accomplish?
So, there's a new concept to the AV, the Cube of Truth, and it's called We the Free. And We the Free is a great, people should look that up. There's one going off in Canada at the moment. You can set it up. Go on WTF We the Free on Facebook to find out. And it's a tangible thing because you give out cards or links to people, and it shows Game Changers, Dominion, and Seaspiracy. And you've got to access these films, you've got to put in a code that I personally give you. So when you go to these street outreach activism events and you talk to people, you can give them this card and say, right, you've got to put Dan 50 in there, and you can watch these films. And then if they do click on those links, it clocks up on my page on We the Free that you set up on your account. So you've got evidence there that people have actually listened to you, gone away, and actually started thinking about it. So it's a really cool idea, We the Free. So I advise anybody in the US to sort of like contact the UK organizers and find out how you can get this set up and convert from AV and do AV and We the Free on alternate weekends, you know. So so I'm going to do that. I've also got something major coming out that I've collaborated with someone else with. And it's a groundbreaker. It's a first in the UK.
Epic.
And it's going to be amazing. And I cannot say a word about it, unfortunately. But anybody out there, just keep your eye on me. Keep your eye on my social media. Because something big is going to happen pretty soon. It's before summer, let's put it that way. There may be a trailer coming out soon for it, so it gives you a bit of clue what type of content it is. So yeah, I want to record conversations on street outreach. We want to do more infiltrations now. I've got a nice team together now, and we've bought equipment through donations of people, and we're going to expose more and more farms. We're going to try and expose as much as we can over the next 12 months and just give people, because the thing about content is now Dominion is, believe it or not, I think it's nearly 3 or 4 years old now, if not more. So as you know, Zach, people, when they see footage, they'll say one of 3 things. They'll say, that's not relevant now. That's 4 years old. That's 5 years ago. Things have changed. That's not in this country, you know, or this is just propaganda. This is not real, you know. It's like they say one of those 3 things, and the biggest thing they say is, well, that was years ago. Things have changed now. So we need contemporary evidence of this ongoing abuse. So I think my work is very important of exposing. I think other people should do it as well. Is if you see an abusive farm, if you see something where things don't look right, go on Facebook, go on one of the vegan sites. Said, does anybody know any activists who like go out and film or whatever? Tell them to go in this place and have a look, you know. And we need to keep exposing it. So that's my sort of tack for the future.
Love it. Well, excellent, Dan. I mean, good luck. And you know, I just want to thank you again for coming on and sharing all this information. And you know, we'll plug the socials, and definitely, you know, y'all listening, keep up to date with what Dan's, you know, doing. Good voice, right? Doing some good work and exciting things on the way. And so we look forward to hearing more about it. So thank you.
Yes. Again. Yeah. So please, I mean, if you do follow me on social medias, I'm obviously, Zach will put the links. If any of you want to ever ask me any questions, please feel free. It may take a couple of days for me to answer, but when I see a message anywhere, I will answer it. Don't ask me for recipes, right? I ain't doing that shit, right? But if you've got any questions, if you've got any questions out there that you feel dumb asking, right? Ask me. I won't judge and I won't laugh, right?
Okay, right.
And I will give you the honest answer and the best answer you can possibly get for that question. Don't ever feel dumb for asking questions, because I was the dumbest one out there. I knew nothing. So believe me, ask me.
That's all from us, my friends. If you want to learn more about Dan's activism, you can check him out on TikTok by searching Grumpy Vegan Granddad, all one word, and on Instagram by searching Danny_Shep. If you'd like to check out Vegan StrongFit, you can find us on TikTok and Instagram by searching Vegan_StrongFit. For coaching, send us some info on our website, veganstrongfit.com. Till next time, take it easy.